What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the Blown Coverage Podcast. I am Slam, always joined by my main man, Sonny. Sonny, how you doing this evening?
Good. We're gonna do it again.
Gonna
Let's
do it
let's run it
again.
back. Run
Yep.
it back.
You're probably going to notice that there is no episode 3. We recorded an episode 3. It was about 30, 40 minutes worth of good content. And it is just lost to the internet forever. I probably could have uploaded your audio, and so we could have just listened to Sonny talk to himself.
I mean, that's basically what it is, anyways. But that actually would have been kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie.
It was sick. What do you mean? I talked back to you.
I know, but just me talking for an hour would have been funny. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it would have been great
With no context. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying. That maybe still would be funny. We'll do it as blooper reel someday, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But as a trend, we kind of started in episode 2. I guess we can I don't know, call it like the pulse of the league or whatever. But some real fun information. Well, I don't know if it was fun, but definitely interesting information was dropped in the chat today, and it got the people going and talking a little bit. You have thoughts on what was going on today in the chat?
Yeah, I mean, Santana and Tally talking really got into religion. Oh no, you meant the other thing.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, we do. Please, oh my gosh,
We had an interesting day today, didn't we?
We did. It was
It was something. Yeah. So we talking about shadow bans, which
yes,
is actually funny. That's a good play on words. We call that the shadow ban because an isolate's name's Shadow.
yep,
Um, but no, right? So we find out that Jordan Ray, depending on how personally you are you on his mailing list, was kind of banned, right? And we actually found out that there were like 5 people banned from 24 heading into 25. Kind of interesting news, right? I think the league had an interesting discovery of that. I kind of saw that coming. I was working midday and I saw it come up in the NCAA chat, and I was kind of like, oh shit, here we go. Because I'd kind of noticed what happened, but it was just kind of a casual observer, and yeah, things got wild there for maybe an hour.
yeah. I I weighed in shortly after everything kind of started, and I mentioned I'll clarify it, I guess, because I think that a couple people mistook what I had to say. Did you happen to read what I said?
Bananas got your ass.
Got my ass. He didn't get anything. He completely misread everything.
On your ass.
He got on my ass. Yeah, but he misread everything. He was talking about votes and people saying they didn't want him here, and it's like, bro,
I became an admin during that conversation. Did you see that?
Yeah, there was a whole lot of stuff flying, but either way, I guess I'll read my exact quote because I don't want to paraphrase, because I don't want people to think I'm
I'll paraphrase. You wanted Ray's ass out. You're like, we won't have any more of this shit.
Man. Anyway, oh no, that was my response to him. So ISO mentioned that oops. He was just talking about Ray gameplay reasons, and that's the reason why he wasn't here. And I mentioned that that our league, the way that it's set up, the rules and the style in which we play, and the non like cutthroat competitive nature of our league, like at its core, with that gameplay wise and the rule set, this is the quote now: no one should be that dominant. Motor and Ray were the only people I played where I legitimately felt hopeless. And that's true. Like everybody gets, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, sometimes you just get shitted on. But it was like every time I played those 2 individuals, there was just no point to even play the game. Like by the end of the first quarter, it was already over. And it's not like it wasn't a question of like psyching myself out, like going into the game, like, oh, I don't have a chance, because we all are fairly competent at this game, and I feel like anybody can beat anybody on any given day as long as you're not throwing 18 interceptions or just getting absolutely screwed, with the luck of the bounces and all that kind of stuff. But with those two individuals, it was just no shot. And I said that because I don't think that should ever happen unless you're doing something you shouldn't do. And the only reason I said that was because ISO brings up gameplay related issues, robotic adjustments, not mixing up the defense and all that kind of stuff. And so as soon as you read that and you think back to your personal experience, well, maybe there was something going on. I don't know. I never called Ray out for anything. I never saw anything myself. Um, Mainly because unless it's like real egregious, I don't, what's the point of saying anything personally? But that's just kind of how I roll. Unless you're Flair and you're dropping 10 into coverage and only rushing one D lineman like he did a couple cycles ago. that's something I complained about. But yeah, I have no issues with Ray's gameplay. It was just he stomped my ass, and so you just kind of start to think like, well, maybe he was doing something, because he was only one of two people that would just ever do that every single time I played, and it just gets you thinking. And that's where I was at. Wasn't trying to call Ray out. I didn't vote for his banishment from the league to continue. No way. I fucking love Ray. I want Ray to come back. So, Ray, if you happen to listen to this, maybe you do, please come back. Thanks. We can get Shadow to unban you. Anyway, thoughts?
Wait, you got a vote?
No, but you do. You're an admin.
Oh, I didn't get a vote. What the hell? I must have been asleep that day. Sorry, I
Well,
missed it.
you're an admin. You should have a vote. So
Uh, no, so it is funny, right? So, I joked. I was like, I didn't. I don't know. Me and him were probably 50-50. We played a shit ton last cycle. I think we probably played like 8 times. I think we ended up splitting total wins, and actually pisses me off because one of his Super Bowls he won, I had him on the ropes and he beat me on the final drive of the game to fucking win, and then he won the Super Bowl. So that was brutal. But no, I look. He had a scheme he ran. If you didn't like it, you didn't like. That's fine, right? It was actually interesting because a lot of times, I remember one year, the year I think I won my Super Bowl, I kind of had a plan, and I figured out that if I could guess pass, it would actually pick off all of his RPOs. And so I put that in there and had a good game against him and beat him pretty good there. And I think the next year he beat my ass again anyway, so it didn't matter. But I don't know. I guess I never really had an issue with the way he played. I think there's, everybody develops their own style, I think. And sometimes you play well against it, sometimes you don't. Like there's guys in the league that, are below 500 guys that I struggle with. And there's guys in the league that are really good that I don't really have an issue with. So I think it's probably more your personal style that clashes with people. And, sometimes it turns people off, right? Like if your style just does not work well against that, or you can't dissect what they're doing and figure out how to attack it, it can be frustrating. But I don't know. The idea of shadow banning people is again not shadow the person banning people, but shadow banning meaning like don't even tell people. Like I think the biggest complaint is probably just like, well, even though they're leaving, let them know, right? Like it's the easy way is just be like, well, they left, so I didn't have to say anything. But like then the whole like coming back thing is awkward. So I don't
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
I think that was just the awkward situation that everybody wanted to avoid, but it ended up just coming up and being more awkward than had it been if we were just like, yeah, we're glad that they chose to leave on their own because I don't think it was a good fit anymore.
Well,
Um,
we're at the end of the day, we're all grown adults that are playing in a virtual football league, and this isn't some super top secret club. I don't think anybody, people might have complained behind the scenes, but all the people that he listed, I don't think any of those people were egregious rule breakers or anything like that. I think they were well liked members of the community that that contributed greatly. And I think that there are people in the league currently that don't hold a candle to those dudes as competitive users in the league and just contributors in general. And for any issue that you may have, some of those dudes were foundational members of this league. And that's where I like that's where I have the problem. Where like, how are you gonna hold these people out that have been kind of like pillars of this thing, for a couple years now? Like that's weird, And like you said, they at least deserve to hear that from somebody.
Well, and again, shout out to Shadow in the way he handled it today, because like he was very blunt about it, right? Like, so at least you can appreciate that, right? Like he didn't try to hide it or sidestep it. He's just like, look, here's why.
Right.
Said it right to his face, and I think even Ray was probably like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But look, here's my Rocky Four reference, right? The end of Rocky Four. If I can change and you can change, we can all change.
Hey.
So now that an issue is known, look, is there anything precluding Ray from potentially saying, look, okay, well, if somebody would have told me, maybe I would have changed it. So,
Right.
you
Because it
know,
it was always one of those things that was brought up. Like people always said something about the offensive piece, but it was never addressed. It was
yeah,
never like, yeah, this is actually happening. This is something that needs to stop. Like it wasn't even mentioned like league wide. Everybody needs to, try to avoid doing this type of thing. It wasn't
right.
even anything like that. So, how do you know you're doing something wrong if, no one's warning you? Like
For
even
sure.
yeah, even at
So,
work
so
you get
that's
written
that's
up or
the blown
whatever.
coverage. Our crusade for this season will be uh, to get Ray back in. So write your senators, write your
Unless
congressmen,
unless he's the
uh,
Raiders. If he comes back as
DM
the Raiders, fuck that.
DM Shadow, and we're gonna get Ray back on the list, and we're gonna tell him what he did wrong, and we're gonna fix it because that's what we do.
Right. And Ray's a good fucking dude. I have no doubt in my mind that if you're like, "Hey man, you run too many play action crossers." I have no doubt in my mind he'll eliminate them.
Well, shit. A kid named Pat was throwing some shade today. He said everybody's played so far. They just expected a bunch of crossers on third down. So I thought that was kind of funny timing because that dude doesn't know any of the history of Ray or anything. He's only been here for like half a season. So I
I
thought that
mean
was kind of just funny when I saw that earlier.
it is the play action crosser, man. It's a weird thing. But now that we have the strafe and chase rule, I really don't think that you can complain about people doing it because at that point you're just allowing it to happen.
Hey, cover one. Play that robber. Get
Yep.
that. Get that.
Dude, there you go. You want to stop the crosser? Cover one, play the robber, use that middle. We know that everybody out there has their linebacker that they use or that has a little bit of speed that probably shouldn't be in the lineup, but since they're fast, you put them out there anyway because you can get to shit you probably shouldn't. Cover
Not
the
me.
crosser.
I'm
No,
playing 40-year-old 82 speed CJ Mosley out there.
I
So
got yeah, I got 36-year-old Bobby Wagner. So
yeah. Well, I'm just out here like screw it. I'll just whatever. But anyways, so let's talk about so the lost episode, and I do mean the lost one, not the last one, but the actual lost one. Uh, we had a lot different world we were looking at, right? Like there were some differences happening across the league. So let's talk about this. I think we'll start actually on the NFC because last time I think we talked too much about us. So let's flip it to the NFC to start. Last time we were speaking about this, we had the Vikings and the Lions tied atop the AFC North, and now or NFC North, and now the Lions have pulled ahead. So now we've got the Vikings down as the fifth seed. We've got the Lions, the resurgent Lions. Here's something people I don't think remember: the Lions. I'm not even sure they've actually lost two games. I think those may have been Sims because I think Bomber was out early on in the season and missed some games. I don't know that Bomber's actually lost a game yet this cycle.
well, let's we can check that. We can fact check that actually because that is not that I don't think that that's possible because I know that Bomber is a very competent, capable user, but it would be shocking to me really. One loss was a sim. Oh God, you are absolutely correct. Both
Yeah,
losses were sims.
I thought so, and he's been oddly quiet about that. And I think he's after last cycle a little bit humbled. Didn't have a great cycle, didn't have a great playoff kind of record. He's basically a poodle with less pizzazz, and And I think he's trying to like go under the radar, right? But
Well, I
we're
mean, good.
calling you out. We're calling you
Well,
out,
good for
Bomber.
him.
You are
He
on the radar.
so they both of his losses were forced. So he took a forced loss in both losses that he had. But then he has also won. He's won one, um, two. Oh no, that was a force. So two. He's won two sims. He had two forced losses and he's won two sims. He won a sim against the Jags and he won a sim against the Packers. So there you go. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, like you said, he hasn't every user game that he's played, he's won. So good for
Right.
him.
I think we talk about JB as the Philadelphia Eagles sitting at 13-2. Bananas having a solid season at 9-5. He does have that win over JB, but I think Bomber, could be the dark horse maybe in the NFC. I think when we were talking to start the cycle when we were doing our predictions, we thought he'd have a good season, but he's kind of the sneaky one. I think looking at that NFC race, his defense has actually played a lot better. I think that's the thing that surprises me. He can always play offense, but the defense actually being good is pretty shocking for me.
Yeah. If I'm trying to pull up the playoff picture currently. But if the playoffs started today, you would have the Eagles as the 1 seed, the Lions as the 2, Panthers as the 3, Niners as the 4. So those are all your division winners. And then you have Vikings in the 5th seed, who are only literally a game out of the 2 seed. The Cowboys as the 6. Remember, they were in first the last time you actually heard our voices. And the Falcons in the 7th seed. So
Well,
here,
and remember the Falcons in the 7th seed. The Giants are still sitting there. Like Dallas can go from 6th seed to out very quick because the Giants are staying at 9-6, and they have just as easy of a chance to get back into this thing. Washington down at 8-7. Don't sleep on them to potentially come back in. So Vikings have a very, very easy way to fall out of this thing. And same with the Falcons, right? That end of the wild card kind of bunch there is going to come right down to the wire.
well, let's talk about the Vikings' remaining schedule. Um, the, the Vikings. This was a team that until their last loss had won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row.
Who is
They
who
won.
is their last loss before this recent one?
They lost in week 7 to the Lions.
Interesting.
Yes, and they have a game against the Lions. Man, they end the season with the Lions.
Ooh.
So you're on the road at the Seahawks, who may or may not be looking forward to the draft. Then you have the Packers, and then you're on the road at the Lions. So you have two tough division games to end your season. And man, it seemed like every season last cycle, it came down to a division game for me to get into the playoffs. And I will get all of my division games out of the way early, please. Like I
You
would.
do know there's always a division game at the end of the year now,
Is
right?
there? Does it always? They
Yes.
made that. They made that change recently, right?
It was like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a thing where
They
you
do that
where
on purpose to try to make it matter. And it
I mean,
works. I
and
mean, at
yeah,
least in Madden, it works pretty well for us.
of course. So yeah, it's just oh man, it's always so nerve wracking to do that. I'm trying to.
Well, the
I mean,
flip side of that is Bomber's schedule. So Bomber's got a tough game against Draco here this week, and Draco and Bomber have played a lot with Draco being the Bears often. So Draco's defense has usually given them some struggles in the past, and so that's a little bit of a landmine potentially if Detroit were to drop that. That truly would make that Week 18 game for all the marbles. So. I don't know what the tiebreakers will end up looking like if Minnesota were to pull that out and they tie at the end of the year. But it's going to be interesting, right? The NFC East coming down to the wire. In terms of all those wild card teams trying to fight it out. We'll see if Atlanta can hold on with Penix. It's the NFC is going to be fun down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's shift our focus back to the AFC. If the playoffs started today, obviously the Los Angeles Chargers are the 1 seed. The Jets are your 2, Ravens 3, Texans 4. And then you have the Chiefs at 5, the Dolphins at 6, and the Broncos at 7. You made a comment today. You were talking to Poodle, and you mentioned potentially playing the Dolphins or the Jets as his round two game.
Yes. And that is worst case scenario for him. And here's why. Uh, those offenses can score. And what we know from Poodle's playoff performances historically last year were that shootouts in the playoffs did not go his way. Uh, for whatever reason, his dominant offense always seemed to struggle just a little bit more in the playoffs, and then the defense never came through. Now, I will say his defense is playing much better this year, but if you're looking at kind of the offenses in the AFC, those are probably two you don't want to play. And so, as far as this could work out for him, that's really probably the worst situation, right? Because, okay, Jets, let's say Jets play Broncos first round. Don't want to put anything by the Broncos, but they did beat them earlier this year. So that would give the Jets the win, which would make Miami sitting as the 6th seed the other option. Then you've got Miami, Baltimore. I feel decently. Baltimore's having a solid season, but again, DB's actually having a really good year. That offense is tough to stop with Hill and Waddle. So then there you go. You've got second round. You would then have Jets versus the winner of Houston KC, and you would have the Dolphins going to LA. And so I don't know. That to me just I just wonder how much of the specter of Poodle's playoff failures starts popping it up at that point, right? Like if you're Poodle, you're like, man, I really would love to play Denver. Man, if you're Poodle, you're like, man, I'd really love to play
I mean,
Houston.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Right.
yeah. Anybody probably other than, like you said, you were Miami. I think he'd rather match up with anybody.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Like the playoffs will be interesting. It'll be it's gonna be fun. I think people, right? We all kind of alluded to the NFC being stronger than the AFC, but then when you start shaking it out, you go, look, it's kind of the same thing, right? There's kind of like one dominant team in the AFC, and then you got some other kind of stragglers. You just happen to be in the same division, so your 11 wins don't look as good. But you go to the NFC, and they've got some questions, right? The NFC West is not a good division. The NFC East looks to be decent because they're all beating up on each other, or they're all highly ranked, but I'm not sure like what that means. The AFC South is going to be interesting, right? So Houston sitting at 7-7, Jacksonville sitting at 7-7, Tennessee Titans sitting at 7-8, and then you even have the Indianapolis Colts at 5-9. So they or 5-10. They've just fallen out of kind of that run. But you start wondering, like, who's even going to get in from the NFC or AFC South? Jacksonville just had a horrible performance last week. Shout out Justin Simmons for 5 interceptions in a game. Um, that's an NFL record. But I don't know. None of those teams seem to be playing great right now. I don't know which team you wouldn't want to play. I think anybody right now. Well, guess what? You're the 5 seed. Uh, who do you want to play as the 4 seed?
I mean, so I have a date with the Texans tonight. And I think check back with me after this one.
That may decide what you want to do. Got it.
Right. And I
Um,
mean, I don't mind. Um, I mean, in reality, I'll play anyone. I haven't played you as the Jets yet at all this cycle, so I have no idea what to expect. Um, that's always good in the playoffs, like not knowing what to expect because you can't really psych yourself out one way or the other. So you just kind of go into it. And for me, I usually play a better game that way. But I wouldn't mind matching up with the Ravens. I wouldn't mind matching up with the Dolphins if somehow that were to happen. And I don't think I would mind matching up with the Texans, even given pending that. Well, even if we happen to play tonight and he scores 60 points, I doubt that'll happen twice.
he can do that. Like if you know
Yeah.
the start of the season, that offense was clicking. I don't know what the hell happened recently, but that offense has gotten clicking or was clicking to start the year, and it's kind of fallen off the train a little bit. Now, Shadow will tell you that's because his internet sucked, but I mean, I think there's some other issues just with some people figuring some stuff out. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like.
Right. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I wouldn't mind it. Uh. So moving right along, you're. I guess we'll do some super early award calls at the moment. I think unanimously, if we had to pick an MVP, you got to go with the quarterback of the undefeated team.
Yeah, yeah. I think Poodle will get that feather in his cap this year. Justin Herbert is the guy. We'll see though, right? I think Poodle's had plenty of accolades that don't matter. That he can add this one to the trophy case.
Absolutely. There's been what, two or three completely undefeated seasons in NBL history. I know that the Ravens did it a couple. Z did it with the Ravens a couple cycles ago. Um, did I don't know who else did it, but I guess somebody
I
can.
feel like we had one back in the day, but I can't remember who it was. It was
Yeah,
years ago.
I just remember being in grid during Z's undefeated season, so I watched a group of those games
How
because I
did you
had
guys
to.
let him do that? I'm talking to
I
the
wasn't
crowd
in the
right now.
league. I
I'm
wasn't in the
talking to the
league.
crowd right now. How did you
Oh,
guys let him do that? Just
he
why?
that Ravens team was crazy. He had Lamar, and I think he had a really good running back too. That wasn't like actually, a Raven. I think he had a really good running back. So, and just I don't know, recipe for. And you got to remember, once upon a time, Z was like really good.
I must
I
have
don't.
been gone for those years.
You were not in the league at that time. You were definitely not in the league at that time. There was a time when Z was as locked in on this game as anyone, and yeah, definitely took it serious and definitely beat the shit out of a lot of people, myself included. So don't, yeah, don't. I have no. Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy thing at all. But
Were you
we've
around
been
when I had I did the all the face swaps of him?
no.
Oh my god, October remembers this. I guarantee it because I was doing a bunch back in the day. But I put him on. You remember the Randy Moss commercial where it was like they took Randy Moss and he was like short and he was trying to reach the fruity munch on the top shelf at the grocery store. I remember I put Z's face on that. That was pretty good. And then I had one where he was trying to get in line for a roller coaster and he was too short to get on the roller coaster.
Oh
Those are
man,
those are the good times. I miss those days.
very very good. Well, I guess offensive player of the year in the AFC or the NFC. In game currently, you have Tyreek Hill leading the AFC and Kyle
Really?
Pitts leading the NFC.
The Tyreek Hill thing surprises me, and I'm curious what drives that. Must just be touchdowns, maybe, because like Adonai or Adonai Mitchell, sorry, he's got one less touchdown, but he's got 100 more yards, so that's kind of surprising.
What is
Um,
the what are the receptions looking like?
I don't know. It's not shown on the front page of Neon.
Oh,
But then even if you go over to rushing, right? Your boy Pacheco's got 16 touchdowns and 1,400 yards. So that one's kind of weird. I'm curious what's driving that.
I mean it has to be 71 receptions for 1364 for Tyreek Hill. Um, let me see here. Mitchell. Yeah, that's weird. Mitchell has 5 more receptions, 100 more yards, 1 less touchdown. So it
Right? Must
literally
just
is
be a
just
touchdown. Yeah.
it is just well, actually it well no, cuz I was going to say maybe it's cuz the fact that he's a rookie, but usually this game doesn't take that into account. The game has no problem giving you offensive player of the year and offensive rookie of the year unless they changed the the thing, but I doubt it.
Next year, I'm just gonna have a receiver that I only throw to on the goal line. I'm gonna try to have him with like 100 yards, but 15 touchdowns, and see what it does.
I mean,
I'm just
I
gonna try
feel
to throw to one dude on the goal line every drive.
I feel like you did that with what's his name, that tight end you had.
Oh no, Hitchens, he was catching touchdowns from everywhere.
Okay, fair enough.
that wasn't goal line.
All
He could
right.
do it from anywhere.
And
Rip,
Kyle
rip.
Pitts Kyle Pitts probably has a firm grasp on it for real in the NFC. I
I
haven't
would
looked at
guess 19 touchdowns.
yeah.
That seems like that's probably locked up.
Yeah, I haven't looked at anything here. These defensive player of the year no like awards are going to be even, I have no idea what's even going on. You got Micah Parsons, Okereke in New York, and Willie Gay in New Orleans. I don't
Hmm.
know. That's in game. Like I said, it's in game, guys. I know that we usually the insiders vote, but
Hmm.
that's what the
Hmm.
game is telling me. And usually, the game kind of mirrors real life, I guess. Got Baron Browning in the AFC, Max Crosby, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack definitely has an argument for that Chargers team, especially if they go undefeated. I wouldn't be shocked. He pretty much ruined the first meeting against the Chargers for myself, so I know firsthand what he can do
See, that's
to change a
surprising.
game.
How many sacks does Khalil Mack have?
Let's check it. Let's jump to those defensive stats for the Chargers here real quick and take a guess.
I mean, it's less than 10, maybe.
You would be incorrect.
Oh, how many's he got?
Khalil Mack has 12 and a half sacks. He's leading his team.
That's interesting because Trey Hendrickson has 13.5. So it's interesting that Mack is above him.
Mack
I
has an
wonder,
interception.
I wonder how much tackle for losses play because I've heard tackle for loss actually has a big bearing on
Well,
that
even
award.
then, Mack he has two more tackles for loss, one less sack, but he has an interception.
I still think it's tackle for loss. I bet you the formula is tackle for losses and sacks combined.
Yeah, he's forced some fumbles. He's forced one more fumble. He has a pass deflection. I know that they weigh pass deflections
Where's my
fairly
boy
heavily.
Justin Simmons at? 11
Uh,
interceptions. Come on. What the hell?
let's see where he is on the list, if he's even on the list at all.
The hell?
We're not even gonna talk about rookies because
They're hating.
Mitchell.
Why are they hating on DBs?
Let's check it out. Um, let's see. Hating on DBs, eh? No, Simmons is 6. He's behind Patrick Queen, JOK, and yeah,
Yeah,
he's there.
they just hate secondary players. I don't know
I
what that's about.
guess. Yeah,
We're
I
game
guess.
changers back here. Come on.
I believe it.
All good. All
I'm
good.
um I'm getting the red light from my wife because the babies are getting a little cranky. It's bedtime.
Oh boy. All right.
Yes, so we probably need to wrap this one up. But uh, I'm moving next week,
Oh, okay.
so maybe
So you'll be back for the playoffs, maybe.
yeah, we might be able to. Well, let's see. What week are we in currently? We
Week 16.
just got to week 16 last night. So 17 will be on Monday. 18, yeah. So by the time I get set up in my new spot with my desk and the internet and all that kind of stuff, it'll probably be just in time for us to talk about Poodle's playoff loss.
That is what we're on. All right, book it, folks. Next conversation will be when Poodle loses.
Yep, there it is. Episode 5. We'll talk about it. No,
We'll
I wish
torture it.
no ill will on Poodle. I hope he wins. I hope he wins. As long as it's not against the Chiefs, he can win as many games as he wants to. But Sonny, always fun talking a little bit of virtual football with you. Best of luck in your final few weeks of the season and your playoff push. And I will talk to you in about a week.
See ya.
Good night.